All right, folks, we're on another exciting of the True Hot Seat, and today's guest is Brisa Alfaro, and she is a Pons Stroke Survivor who's been on the Doctor Show. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And can you give us a little bit of insight of your story, how it all came about, what happened to you?
It's running. Thank you guys for having me. So about 5 years ago, I was working in New York City, and I all of a sudden had a stroke. So most people I was 32 years old. I never expected that it was going to happen to me. I thought it was something that older people get in life, but I was wrong. So I was basically, I had something called a Pons stroke. So most people that have strokes, it affects a certain side of their body, the right side or the left side. Mine, in my case, it happened in the middle. So I developed something called locked-in syndrome. So I couldn't move either side of my body. I don't know if I already told you, 5 years ago. So I had to relearn how to do everything all over again. However, my doctors really didn't think that I was going to kind of break out of being locked in, because most people that do develop locked-in syndrome do not survive. And if they do survive, it's not for a very long time, and they end up being in that state forever. So it's almost like you're in a coma. On the outside, it looks like you're in a coma, but on the inside, you're fully aware of what's going on around you. You just can't communicate that you can understand everything that's going on or what people are talking about. So the best way I describe it is, in your brain, think of a town, and the town is your brain, and there's only one main highway going into that town, and that's your Pons. And something can happen in the left side or the right side of that town, and that could be a stroke on either side, and you may not be able to enter that area right away, but over time it'll repair and you can enter again. But if something happens in your Pons, this is your main highway. So things can come in, but you can't express that it's coming in. So you're essentially locked in your town, in your brain. So that's the best way that I could describe locked-in syndrome.
Brisa, would you say that, you know how like a person says that they were paralyzed, but there was no way that you could communicate back with the outside world, right?
Right. I was essentially locked in my own body.
And I'm sure that, they ran tests on you and, they pricked you and they were like, hey, this girl's not responding. But inside, you're telling me you felt pain?
Yes, I felt everything. I mean, when they sedated me, I didn't feel it, of course, but when they were lowering my sedation to see if I could react, that's when I would feel. I was very confused in the very beginning because I didn't understand what locked-in syndrome was. I didn't understand why no one was responding to me, because I would talk to my family as if they could hear me, but nobody would respond to me. So I didn't really understand why in the very beginning, the first part of my recovery, I didn't understand why people were so upset, because I was thinking, well, I'm alive, I made it, I'm okay, I just have to, recover now and I'll be fine. But I didn't realize how bad the situation was. And now I realize that people that survive locked-in syndrome is very few and far between. I mean, I think the odds are, less than 1% in the world. So I now realize, like, shoot, I guess I was pretty lucky, and I'm very fortunate that I was a stubborn person and worked towards my recovery every day.
How did you realize, okay, I'm trying to go through that process of like you at one point are stuck and you're not realizing what's going on. Then there's the phase of now you're starting to realize, okay, I can't move. I can't do anything. No one's responding. I can hear them. I don't know. Could you see?
In the very beginning, I couldn't because my eyes were not connecting. Visually, I couldn't understand that what I was seeing in front of me was an actual person. So I could see an image, but I didn't connect that it was a person, not just a person, but a person that I loved. You know, I didn't connect the two until later that came back to me. And then I started to work on my recovery when I understood that I could piece it all together again. Because in the very beginning, I was in a state of shock and a confusion. I didn't understand everything. And then I went through from that to why me, a depression kind of, and I just didn't want to face it really. And I didn't want to fight because I was so angry. And once I stopped being so angry and realized like, okay, now I got to figure out what I got to do to get out of this situation, because all I was thinking was, there is no way that this is going to be the end of my journey. Mm-hmm. I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to break through and get everybody to understand that I'm still here and still like this person that you see in front of you, I'm still here. It was my job to figure out a way to get them to see that. But I didn't know that the odds were so slim. So I think that worked in my favor, because not just that I didn't know, but I didn't want to accept it. I just was running on inspiration. I needed to know I was going to be okay, and nobody else was giving me that inspiration except for myself. So once I turned my negative energy into something positive, like I gotta show them signs that I'm in here, I'm in this body, I'm okay. Then little by little, I started showing them signs by moving my pinky, moving my hand, little things like that. Those were the first things that come back to me. And then I was starting to give them peace signs and follow people around in the room with my eyes, and things like that were little signs that they all knew, like, okay, she's coming back. And because they all started getting motivated that I was coming back, it in return motivated me. So I worked harder at it. And
how long were you locked in your own body?
For about a month, I believe, something like that.
And at this point, was anybody talking to you or coaching you, like what's going on with you? Or
yeah,
so, you just have to figure this out on your own?
Right. No, not on my own. I had so much support from my family, and I don't believe that they wanted to believe it. They were so set on, she's going to be fine. And because they believed it so wholeheartedly, I felt like I needed to believe it myself. And as soon as I did start to believe it and stopped like wallowing in my sorrow and just started taking action, then everything started changing for me. And one little step after another came my recovery. So it wasn't overnight. It wasn't, I didn't have a clear plan, but I knew the next thing that I needed to do to get them to understand that I was going to be okay.
Okay, Brisa. So you were working, and you're a go-getter, right? So you were a stylist for Paul Mitchell.
Yes.
So you're out in New York. You know, you're a powerful woman. You're working, and just like that, your lights just went out.
Yeah. It basically, it was a curveball. I wasn't expecting.
It was a curveball, right? And you were flown back to California?
When I was stable enough, because they kept me in New York until I was stable enough to fly back to California. And I was flown back in a medical jet, and I was transferred to Ontario Kaiser. And then from there, I got better and I started rehabilitation, inpatient rehabilitation at Ballard. And I finished my rehabilitation there until I came home.
So
Go ahead, Jaime.
when you're doing rehabilitation at this point, and you're back here, I mean, I'm assuming you're just limp, or I mean, how are they moving your body for you? Are they showing you? I mean, give me the process of.
They were trying to show me, but I couldn't move. So it was, think of it like a newborn baby. So things were coming back to me, but it was a slow process. So once I learned how to sit up in a wheelchair, I learned how to next wheel myself in a wheelchair. Then the next thing was to learn how to walk with a walker. The next thing was to learn how to walk with a cane. Then to learn how to walk unassisted. So it was all a process, little baby steps, but everything, whatever you think a baby would have to do to get to those points to start walking again is what I essentially had to do. I had to start all over again. So
how long was your recovery period, or are you still recovering?
Physically, I could say that I am 100% physically recovered.
Awesome.
Thank you. Other than the small surgeries that I keep getting from my airways when I had the tracheotomy, I would say I'm physically healed. I'm better. I believe that happened because I gave myself no other option. I knew from the very beginning that it was going to happen. Where there's a lot of people that survive all kinds of things in life, and they believe that this is gonna kind of be their story in life now. I never believed this was gonna be it for me. I knew I had to work at getting to 100%, and it was gonna take work and dedication. I was gonna have to work on it even when I didn't want to. And because I did that, even when I didn't want to, I was able to manifest my 100% recovery.
How long were you in recovery?
Well, it's taken me to this point to physically be 100% recovered. I mean, I've went through different stages for years. I just started driving, I think, a year ago. So yeah, everything is happening in stages, but it's happening. So
I mean, this is a true like survivor story, and I mean, obviously, you know that you're at a different point in your life right now. Give us now. You're doing speaking engagements. You're writing a book. When these speaking engagements and the book, are you talking about what you've gone through? You know, how the struggles and how to survive?
Yeah, so definitely what I'm doing is sharing my story on multiple platforms, because I want people to realize that just because you get a bad hand, because you're dealt a bad hand, or something happens drastic and devastating in your life, that doesn't have to be the end of your journey. You can choose to continue and work at it and change your outcome as long as you work at it. A lot of people think that, well, I worked at it for a certain amount of time, and it didn't work for me. So I don't know. It's not in the cards for me. And that's not necessarily the case. You still have to work. Even if you're not seeing the results you want, you can't give up. And a lot of people will get these challenges that will come that are thrown at them in life. Like I was saying earlier, a curveball, and it knocks you down and you don't know how to get back up. It's not a choice on getting back up. The choice is figuring out how you're going to get back up. Because a lot of times people will say it's going to be too hard, so I'm not going to do it. And they're so caught up in the how, and they're not caught up in the what. Because
Brisa, what would you say would have happened if the doctors would have told you that there was a 0.001% chance that you were going to make it out? I mean, did that bring you down, or, did you just say, well, hey, you know what, that's still a chance?
Well, that's what I heard. I heard them say that I had a less than 1% chance of survival.
Ouch.
But that gave me motivation. It made me realize, like, I am the creator of my own life, and I'm not going to let anybody else try to write it for me. And if I fail, it's on my terms, and nobody else is going to tell me that I couldn't and I didn't try. So it was very hard news to take, but it made me that much more motivated to show them otherwise. I'm a very stubborn person, and when I heard something like that, I realized, like, no, I'm going to show you. And that's what I did. So every time I would go into the hospital, the doctors couldn't believe my recovery, because every time they would tell me that this is as good as it's going to get. And I would come back and it would be better. And they would say, this is as good as it's going to get. But how many times does that happen to us in life? That people, our friends, even our own family will say that. Like, you're doing great, but this is probably as good as it's going to get. So slow down and enjoy life. No, you gotta love life and enjoy life, but never stop. Never stop. You gotta keep going. And I've learned that the hard way, but I'll never stop pressing and trying to accomplish more. And I feel like that's my message now. When I'm sharing my story, I like to end it with what I'm learning from all of this, because every time you go through something, a situation in life, you have to learn from it. You can't just chop it up as to a crappy moment. You have to learn from it. And with that, you change your direction a little, but you don't change your outcome. You don't change what you're trying to accomplish. And that's actually what I learned from all of this. And that's what I'm sharing on different stages and different.
Awesome. Brisa, you brought up an analogy, right? You said these were the cards that were dealt. And from what it sounds like is you make the best of whatever cards were dealt your way.
Right.
What I saw your post. You were on stage and you posted the post behind you, or the screen behind you said, "Why me?" What is your take on that? Like, did you ever ask yourself, did you ever ask a higher power, or being like, why me? Why did this have to happen?
Totally. That was a turning point in my recovery, because in the very beginning, everything was very confusing to me, and I didn't understand it because I believed I was a good person. I believed I didn't deserve it. So when I asked myself, why me? I didn't just ask me, but I was asking the universe, everybody, why me? And I'm sure a lot of people in life, everything will be going great for you, as it was for me in my life. My career was great. I was living a very happy life. And then this happened to me. So of course I was asking myself, why me? I've been so good. Why did it have to happen to me? And when I stopped worrying about that question and started realizing, why not me? It can happen to anyone. So now my job is to listen up and find the clues that will lead me to my best life. And once I started doing that, my best life came to me. And I'm living it now. So I think a lot of people get so caught up in the moment of why. Why do I have to be stuck in traffic right now? Why did I get fired from the job that I've always wanted? Why did that person pass away that I love so much? There's so many things that you can be asking yourself. Why? But if you get past that and you realize that it's not so much about the why, but it's about the how. How am I going to get past this? What do I need to do to get past this?
Or what was I supposed to learn from
What
this?
was I supposed to learn from this? This journey in the very beginning was very hard for me to understand. But now that I'm sharing my story with so many people that need to hear it, I realize why. I realize this is the reason that it happened to me. Because when I hear from someone else that says, I really needed to hear your message, you have no idea why. This is what I needed to continue. Then I realized that's my why. It's just needed to change. It wasn't supposed to be why me. Now I see. Now I know why it's me. So just change your focus, I guess.
And help others. It seems like what you're doing now, and that's what you figured out.
And in return, it's helping me.
Right.
You know, as much as I love helping people and sharing my message, and I love when people come to me and tell me how it's helped them, in return, it helps me abundantly. So I feel like I can never stop this journey.
How many people do you think, Brisa, that you can touch, that you can help? How many people do you believe that are locked in, just like the way you were for 30 days? How many people do you believe are locked in their job, in their marriage, in their, how many people do you, based on you sharing your story now for the past, 24 months, how many people do you feel that come across to you are living their own version of locked in?
There's so many people. I don't want to take away from any person that meets me and hears my story, because that's the biggest takeaway that they get, because they do feel like that. They do feel like they're in a routine and they can't get out of it. And they feel like it's just a hamster wheel and it's never going to change. And it does change, but you have to want it to change. You can't just desire it to change. You have to put action behind it. And I think that that's a lot of people's mistake, is that they think that because they want it so bad and they talk about it so bad and they maybe post about it and post about all these motivating things, that it's going to change their process. But it's really not about that. You actually have to put action behind that process. You have to want it bad enough, because otherwise you are going to be locked in your state. You are not going to be surviving and thriving. You are just going to be living just mundane day to day and posting occasionally and feeding off of different people's perceptions. So a lot of times what I realize, like when I'm around positive people, I feed off of that. Well, everybody needs to know that when you are around negative people, you're going to feed off of that too. And whether it be your job or your family member, your husband, wife, or even your children, whatever it is, you have to realize that the negative self-talk is easy to start. That negative self-talk can swallow you up and you won't even know that it's doing that. So you have to be conscious that that's something that you're not going to accept in your life, because you don't want to stay in this state forever. You know that there are bigger and better things out there for your future, and what you've been talking about, you can actually manifest it.
Okay.
But you can't do it by just talking about it.
Okay. So Brisa, what if a person does not even know that they are in a locked in state? Just like when you woke up, how would a person react, or what would be a trigger that a person needs to realize, what, there's something wrong here?
I believe that self-development is the first step, like what you guys are doing. When people listen to you guys about taking the next steps to create a better future for themselves, you could do that by audios, books, reading books. My mom played something for me in the very beginning when I was in a locked-in state. My mom played The Secret. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
I have the book. And this is it, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And they have it in audio. They have it in, you could read it. You can watch a movie, whatever you want to do. But something like this helped me realize that it was all in my head, basically. I had the power to break out of this locked-in state. And if I didn't like where I was at, all I had to do was change my thought process. And I believe that there are many books out there, and there's a lot of people that you can follow that are also going to guide you in the right direction. But just like a mother or a father that is guiding their child to learn how to ride a bike, you got to let go a little, and your child has to learn how to ride the bike on their own. And they are going to fall, and they're going to skin their knees. But if that kid picks up the bike again and keeps on riding, they will have success. If they decide this is too much for me, and they put the bike down and they never pick it back up, they will not succeed on riding that bike again. They're going to always fail, and they're always going to say in their head, I don't want to do that because I know I'm going to fail. If you think you are, you're right. If you think you're not, you're also right. So why not choose the better? The mind is an amazing thing. So it has so much power. If you believe it wholeheartedly, and you believe all the things that you're learning from different podcasts, from different books, from different seminars, and different people that are helping you to learn and achieve your best self, if you apply all those things, because you can't just get all this information, you got to apply what you're learning. And I believe that that's what has helped me, because I finally got to the point where, okay, I'm hearing enough information. I'm hearing enough positive, because my mom would play this on audio and I would just hear it. And once I started applying it, that's when my recovery sped up. That's when I realized that it's not just up to, hearing all these positive things. I got to actually do it. And once I started doing it, it's when everything changed.
Okay.
There, sorry.
That you actually took the action. And I think that's where a lot of people, like you said, get locked in. They either get locked in with their head, they get locked in with certain relationships, certain patterns, and they don't get out of that, or they don't try to initiate, step by step, little baby steps. In your case, moving the pinky, just to move a little bit more further, and I think that's the number one thing that what holds them back. And out of curiosity, since you're writing this book, what is the name of it? Is it called Locked In?
It can't be called Locked In because there's some.
No? Why not?
Because there's another girl that just came out with a book called Locked In. So,
dang it. Okay.
I wanted, that was my goal. That was the name I wanted to call it. But,
man, I was going to tell you, Jaime beat me to it, and I wanted to, just throw that chime in there. Good job, Jaime.
For the longest time, that was going to be the name of the book. But she just came out with it, and
Does she have the same syndromes, same issue, same thing that happened?
She had something else, but essentially she was locked in her own body. And so, I mean,
right.
I can't take that from her, but
Well, maybe I have to think of, I am somewhat of a marketing kind of person, so maybe I'll think of something and I'll shoot it your way.
Yes,
You know
I
what I
would
mean?
love that. Thank you.
Um, we really appreciate your story. I mean, I think it's just so powerful, for people to understand, that they don't have to be stuck where they're at. There are avenues out there. They just got to take that initiative.
Yep.
Let's say I'm going to just give you the question that I always ask everybody is, what's something about you that when most people would be surprised to know about?
Surprised.
Surprise!
My favorite animal is a sloth.
A sloth. Was not expecting that one. Okay.
Why? Because in the very beginning, I was very slow after my stroke. I would walk very slow. I would get into the car very slow. And my brothers would be like, oh my God, you're a freaking sloth. And now I love sloths. So.
Oh my God.
Wow, you must have some really nice brothers.
Yeah, shit, huh? That brother-sister relationship, right?
I love them. They're the best.
That's awesome.
Again, you know what? We truly appreciate you coming on the True Hot Seat with us. It was awesome for you to share your story. If anybody else out there wants to get a hold of you, in contact with you, maybe, for a speaking engagement or anything like that, how can they get a hold of you?
So you could go to my website, which is brisaalfaro.com. And that's BRISAALF as in Frank, ARO.com. Or you could find me on Facebook or Instagram, same handle, Brisa Alfaro. And you can contact me there.
Awesome. Awesome. Brisa, what can we expect from you within the next, 6 months to a year? What are you going to accomplish?
So right now I'm in the middle of creating a workbook. I can't really go into it too much, but I am creating that for my speaking engagements. And I was just recently in Women's World magazine, which was sent out all across the country. It was crazy. I was getting people from all over reaching out to me. So I have a few more things in line in that nature. I am working with the author, Lisa Nichols. I don't know if you guys know who she is, but she's also in this book, The Secret, Lisa Nichols. I'm working closely with her, and she's helping me refine my story to share it on multiple platforms. I've had different people reach out to me about my book, so there are big things coming.
Awesome.
That's exciting. That's
awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
All right. Again, guys, thank you again for joining with us. Hopefully you got a lot of good stuff out of this one. I know I did. So if there's anybody else out there that you would like us to interview or any questions you'd like us to ask, hit us up, let us know. Until next time, peace out.
Thank you, guys.
Smash up them likes and show us those shares. Thanks, Hyvik.